So hello, my name is Jonathan Peshke, and I'm one of the partners here at Mass Training. Myself and Fred Mertens, and also you see up here on the call is my son Roman Peshke, who's literally grown up in this environment and seen everything from the time he could walk. And we deliver the training materials and resources and knowledge and know-how to help guys scale their business. One of the gentlemen you said you watched the video, guy Sean Bates. The two businesses that are easiest to help, and I think this goes across any industry, are ones that are struggling, where it's like, man, I'm ready to throw in the towel. And the ones that are doing well enough where now they're inspired to make a difference. The guys in the middle that are kind of like, well, it's not that bad, but it's not that good, but I'm kind of making it. They're often the toughest guys to work with because they've reached their comfort zone. Their thermostat is adjusted. And it's like, well, I want more, but yeah, well, I'm paying my bills and there's a little bit of money in the bank. So maybe I don't want to risk rocking the boat. And versus my mentality has always been, heck, burn the boats. We've heard that story. One advantage I've always had is that my instructor, he always pressed us to try new things, to do things, to challenge ourselves, to always be in a state of growing. I mean, he's the first one that taught me you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. To stay the same is the death of us all. So, yeah, I remember when rotating curriculum was the new thing. All right, that was how far back are we going now? And so we talked about it. And I said, sir, what do you think? He goes, well, let's try it. Let's do it for a year. And if it works, great. And if not, we can always go back to what we did before. And then as things have continued to come out and change, and one of the reasons why I've never been afraid to go first, I've never been afraid to try something new, is for that early philosophy that was ingrained in me, is that what I just said, go for it. Worst case scenario, you can always go back to what you did before. But yeah, that video I mentioned, those guys, they were doing really well. They were averaging 50, 55 grand a month in a single location with good overhead. They were making real dough. But then they realized after doing that for many, many years that they wanted to grow again. They'd outgrown their pot. They needed a bigger pot to continue. So they came on board and they said, well, I'm really not sure, but I like what I hear and the connection's right. Let's go for it. And yeah, now they're doing $1 million a year. They haven't doubled their income. They have on several months. Their best month, I think, is about $120,000, but they're averaging north of 80 grand a month. And in fact, their first month, it was funny because Master Robles goes, man, we did 90, I think they did 92 or $93,000 making some money moves, where he's like, shoot, I paid you guys for the whole year. The rest of the year is free. That's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it. So, yeah, does the stuff work? Absolutely. Does the track record there to prove it? Yeah. Yeah, we've been around. We've been doing this, heck, Mr. Mertens started doing mass training. Sifu Cup, you were one of the early adopters. How long ago did you first start working with Mr. Mertens in mass training? What year was it?
Goes back so far, it's a little foggy. I hate to lie. I can get close.
Okay.
About 98.
98. So pre-2000. Wow. That's fantastic. And Master Garland, you go pretty far back too, right, sir? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, sir. You're muted.
Picked me up in Chicago in his 911 Porsche at the airport in 1997.
Whoa.
Oh, he had to beat me by 1 year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
97.
Long time ago. He had a full head of hair. That's a long time ago. I hope he's not online.
No, he's not the one. I won't tell him you said that, but okay. So yeah, the track record's real. In fact, you know what? We have, for you guys that don't know this already, we do have an event coming up in Jacksonville, Florida next month. It's going to be a live training event, a 3-day event at the Warrior Martial Arts headquarters. For you guys that have never been there, I don't care what style you've done or do. I don't care what background you've got. I don't care how long you've been doing this. You will be impressed. The place is 22,000 square feet. And I think you could fit all 4 of our academies in there twice. And it's impressive. Not just the training area, but the entire operation. I mean, the guy, it's like going to Mecca for a martial artist. I don't care what style you're from.
What is that again, Jonathan? Like,
Yes, sir. It's going to be November 14, 15, and 16. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, I'm sorry. Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
okay,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, November 14, 15, 16.
can my jujitsu friend come? Is that
Of
okay?
course. Absolutely. We let jujitsu guys in there.
All right.
Now you know Clay Pittman, right, sir?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Not only is he a beast on the mat, but he is a beast in business as well. He's been
Yes,
doing
he is. Hey, he's been very helpful to
We
me,
should
by
set up
the
a
way.
Zoom with him.
Well, I've already I've already met with him or talked to him on the phone, and he was
That's
very
great.
helpful to me and he gave me a lot of good advice.
He is such a good guy. He
And
really
he is. He's a good guy.
he's like in fact Carl, he's for you guys that don't know who we're talking about, a guy named Clay Pittman down in Lubbock, Texas. Now, what's funny is we have another client who's up in Richardson, Texas, who's a Taekwondo guy. And he goes, "Oh, I know him. He's a cop and a Taekwondo guy." And he goes, "Yeah, when I was in college, he went to college down in Lubbock." He goes, "I know exactly who that is. I went to college down there many years ago. And when I was in college, I went and trained at his jujitsu school." I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, dude's a badass." He goes, "Man, he
You know
whooped."
Brandon Mullins?
No.
They call him the Wolverine.
Okay.
Worked for Clay Pittman, and then
Okay.
he started working for me, and we did real well together. He's very well versed, and now he's working for my old jiu-jitsu instructor, Dracolino.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, he's very good.
It's a, the martial arts family tree is not that big. I mean, we all kind of come back to the source at some point. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, even Machado, Mr. Mertens did a call with Master Machado. And that's who, for you guys that don't know, that's who Pittman came. He's like Master Machado's number one guy, I guess, or something like that. But he goes, "Yeah, Clay Pittman's kind of a jujitsu savant. I mean, he is a
Very
beast."
talented in jiu-jitsu, and he's very good at marketing. But he gave the last Machado clinic, he gave a little seminar.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. He's dynamite. And I mean, he is a self-made millionaire in jujitsu. For you guys that are on the call, I mean, jujitsu is probably the toughest martial arts style to run as a business.
I agree with you because it's not flashy. Like you can't just go to a mall and break boards.
No. And it's grueling. I mean, jiu-jitsu workouts are no joke. And to get mom, dad, and the kids, oh my gosh. Yeah. The turnover is higher than most. And yet he's a self-made millionaire teaching jiu-jitsu because
I've done demos before, and I did something like what we would consider to be really fancy, like a standing arm lock or something.
Yes.
Which I'd like. People will like this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're looking at. So whereas when you're doing something like kung fu or karate, if you punch somebody in the face, everybody knows that you're doing
right.
Breaking boards, they see something.
So it's further proof that the style you teach doesn't matter. I firmly believe every martial arts style out there is good and viable. I think what matters is the instructor. Does the instructor want you to grow as a person? Is the instructor there to actually help you, or are they there to feed their own ego? Are they there for you, or are they there for them? Right? Because we have clients that are extremely successful in every style you can imagine. What it comes down to is how good are you at helping people realize that they can become more than they thought they could, and that you're the person that's going to help them get there. As you get better at conveying the message of what martial arts will do for someone, your business grows. And that's what people mess up. I was on a call this morning with the head of an organization, and they're trying to buy people's memberships. Like, for example, rather than getting good at the messaging of what martial arts helps you become, they're like, "Well, if you sign up today, we'll give you a uniform, and we'll give you some sticks, and we'll give you some pads, and we'll throw in a birthday party, and we'll give you this, and we're going to waive all the money, and hopefully you'll pay us in a month. Let's keep our fingers crossed tight, because otherwise we're going to lose our butt because we've spent so much money on all these items we're giving you." I mean, it's insane. As in fact, as a matter of fact, to circle back to Master Jones, that Sean Bates video and Master Robles, that's what they were doing when they first came on board, and they were still doing 50 grand a month. So I mean, they were making it work. They were doing real dough. And one of the first things they switched was, instead of buying memberships and hoping it came back to them, they started collecting money on the front end of the membership. Where now, instead of buying stuff to give to you to hope it comes back, now they collect on average $700 for each new enrollment. It was a game changer literally overnight. Now, what did it mean they had to do? Well, they had to change the way they think about their business a little bit. Yeah. And then they had to get good at having the right conversations with people, because like we've talked about before, a parent calls up a karate guy and they think that they're hiring, signing their kid up at for an activity, soccer, baseball, basketball, maybe a park and rec program. And unfortunately, that's kind of where most parents view you until they get to know you. And it's up to us to change that. So they call thinking they're going to give you money to trade time for an activity. And if we handle the phones right, they realize, oh, this might be more than I thought it was. And if we handle the tour and orientation right, they leave realizing, okay, we have found a true mentor for our child and for our family that could have a real impact on their future. And a lot of people miss that, and it stays like this, at which point they think that they're telling you what to do. It's almost like hiring a personal trainer. Well, I want you to fix this. I want you to fix that. Jump through these hoops. Act like a chihuahua. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's not what I'm saying. No, that's not how we'll do it. And so it's up to us to get better at conveying to them, which it comes to asking questions. If you look at our phone dialogue, 90% of it's questions. If you want to be more, what's the saying we use? If you want to be more interesting, be more interested. I'm not here to tell you how great I am. I'm here to find out what it is you want. What do you need? How can we open that wound a little bit to get into an emotional state where you realize, yeah, I'm the guy for you. I could help you with that. Right. And so, yeah, we're doing, let me circle back here. Roman posted 2 links in the chat. One of them is for you guys that aren't currently enrolled. The top link, you can schedule that onboarding link. I'm sorry, you can click it and schedule a one-on-one call to find out how you can become a member of Mass Training. And then the second link, is for the Mass Training Warrior Seminar with Grandmaster Bill Clark down in Jacksonville. In fact, I believe Sergio von Schmeling might be there as well. Is that right, Roman? Do you know for sure?
Yes, he'll be there.
Yeah, I thought so. And for you guys that don't know who he is, he's probably the most successful multi-school operator in the country. He's got, what is it, close to 50 schools right now under his brand. So yeah, he's done, and I don't care what you think about his program or what you even think about him. The truth is, nobody's been able to pull off what he's done. Nobody. So, I mean, anything you can take away from that is money in the bank. And the guy is impressive. And what's interesting is, even he understands he's got to have mentors in his life. He's part of a program with Tony Robbins, part of the elite.
Oh, wow.
Tony Robbins, which is $125,000 a year to be a part of. He's invested. Wow. Are they telling him what to say on the phone? No, they're teaching him how to think differently. Let me share a story Mr. Mertens shares pretty often. He had a lady that he hired many years ago down in Florida as kind of a life coach. And she's like, Fred, today we're gonna go for a drive. And they went through a super plush neighborhood, mansions everywhere. And he looked at her and he goes, man, what do these people do? And she looked back at him and she goes, no, Fred, wrong question. What you should be asking is, how do these people think? Now that's huge for you guys. I mean, that should hit you like a ton of bricks. And if it doesn't, well, then, maybe you're not ready yet, and that's okay. But that should hit you like a ton of bricks, because it's not what do they do, it's how do they think. I was on a call this morning with a gentleman who was very excited because he's in Arkansas, And he had 17 families travel to Kansas for a tournament last weekend. I said, well, that's pretty impressive. How far of a drive is that? Oh, it's about 7 hours each way. I said, okay, that's a long trip to drive. How long were they there? Well, most of them went down Friday, spent the night, competed on Saturday, spent the night, and came home Sunday because the tournament went late. You know how tournaments are. Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. So you're telling me you had 17 families drive 7.5 hours each direction, stay in a hotel 2 nights, feed the entire family who knows how many meals, probably bought some collectibles or souvenirs, might have done some other activities if there was anything around there that was a family draw. Let's do the math on how much money you think they spent. Oh, get my hand down. How much money do you think anybody, you guys tell me, how much money do you think that would equate to? Most of you guys have kids. I know I've had kids grow up. How much money would you spend on something like that? Give me a ballpark guess. Anybody?
About $1,200 on the cheap side.
Yeah.
Hotel, food,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a t-shirt here and
Gas.
there, and gas, and
$1,000 per person.
yeah, easy $1,200.
Easy. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about when Roman and Sadie were little. I would say anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Yeah, depending on if we're going to do another activity while we're there.
Mhm.
So on the conservative side, let's say $1,200. Easy $1,200. Let's do the math. Let's see. $1,200 times 17. I said, so what you're telling me, sir, is you generated $20,400.
Didn't get any of it.
Didn't get any of it.
No waste.
Total wait. Now, I'm not saying you should never go to tournaments, but what I am saying is realize you can generate $20,400. Why aren't we doing that in the academy? Why are we struggling? What was different? And you know what they won? A plastic glow-in-the-dark medal. Woohoo!
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yet I hear things like, oh, well, people in my area can't afford more tuition. Seriously? We just did the math. You're lying to yourself. These guys coughed up at least $1,200 per family. And yet we're afraid to increase our tuition by $20. We're afraid to ask for an initial investment. They just coughed up $1,200 in pursuit of a plastic medal. And here's the thing we have to realize. When we stop trading our time for dollars and start focusing on outcomes, everything changes. A couple of months ago, my wife and I went into a Starbucks, and this girl came out from behind the counter, woman, and she's like, oh my gosh, Master Peshke. At which point my brain starts going, oh crap, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And then she lit up with a big smile, and I immediately recognized her. This girl named Simone Nash. I hadn't seen Simone since she was 14 and got her second-degree black belt. Simone is now 26, married, a mother, has her own business, and works part-time as a manager at this Starbucks location. Seems to have her act together pretty good for a young girl of 26. I said, man, it's so great to see you. How you doing? She's like, oh, I'm doing great. She's like, oh, it's so good to see you guys, blah, 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 blah. And then here's the best part. Now, I hadn't thought about Simone forever. She was an average level student. She wasn't anything special. She wasn't anything fantastic. She was just a good kid. She goes, man, I think about you guys all the time. I said, really? And she goes, yeah. In fact, all my friends, if you ask anybody, I talk about Taekwondo like I was still training. And I said, well, you know, you can. And she's like, oh, and then she told me all the stuff. She's like, okay, whatever. But the cool thing is she still talks about it, her words, as if she were actively training in the academy. She holds it in such high regard, has such an affinity for the impact that we've had on her life that it's still top of mind some 12 years later. You don't get that from getting someone to yellow belt, guys. You don't get that from getting someone to green belt or red belt. I'll wear school logo t-shirts and people stop me all the time. I'm sure you have the same thing. Oh, you do martial arts? Yeah, I used to do martial arts. I did when I was a kid. And then they say these painful words. I wish my mom wouldn't let me quit. I think that's on us. That's on us. Now, not always, but it's on us. I'll take that responsibility. That means I didn't do enough early on in the relationship to get them to commit to a bigger, better, bolder outcome. That's on us. Because We just realized this young man who's all of 21 years old generated $20,000 for someone else. Why aren't we doing that for ourselves? Because I guarantee you the person that puts that kind of investment into their training doesn't quit fast. And getting someone to yellow belt, orange belt, green belt, purple, red, brown, whatever colors you've got, it's not enough. The color belts are there to serve one purpose, to get them ready for the real training, which only begins at black belt. Everyone says, oh, we're a black belt school. Meanwhile, they got 3 black belts. You're lying. Let's get more people to the rank of black belt. How do we do that? We get them committed to an outcome of black belt early on. Any of you guys that have kids on this call, I'm sure you expected them to finish high school, and yet you celebrated it. That's first degree black belt. I expect you to get black belt. Why else are you here? It's a given. It's an expectation. So it doesn't mean I can enroll you on that on day one, but it means that the community, the atmosphere, it has to be projected that that's what we're here for early on. That's why you hear things like black belt a minute. That's why we talk about from the front of the room, our goals for everyone to reach 4th degree. Why do I do that? Because that way, getting them on a membership that will take them to 2nd degree is easy. 2nd degree, that's only halfway there. So if we want to have the kind of impact where a person, and you've probably had this experience too, don't get me wrong, where a person 10, 12, 15 years later recognizes you and embraces you because you had such a big impact on their life. Why aren't we doing that with everybody? You know, why is that the exception and not the rule? Well, again, I think it's on us. We're not having the right conversations. We're not thinking about it correctly. You know, we think we have a student because they signed up for 6 or 12 months. You don't have a student. You have an opportunity to create a student. You know, the rules we play by is that you don't have a student until they're committed to an outcome of at least 1st degree black belt. Now you have a student. Signing up for 6 or 12 months, that's just an intro. That's an introduction to your martial art. Unless you're taking them to black belt that quickly, but I doubt if anybody is. So, you know, we have to decide in advance, what do we want to have happen? To go back to my young man here in Arkansas, he's now going to go back and have different conversations with people as a result of our training call we did with him today. He's now decided that he is firmly, he gets it. The light bulb turned on. He gets it. He's got 3 families. He's going to go pitch on a $25,000 membership this week. Now, he's going to credit them what they've paid for. He's going to discount it. He's going to help them commit to that outcome now instead of waiting until later. And he's going to offer to save them a whole lot of money, where each family will have the opportunity to give him, well, depending on which one we're talking about, anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. Now, the cool thing is, one of them is probably going to do it. And the ones that don't do it, he's still going to love them too. And these are some of the, this is how Master Bates, that we were talking with you guys, Master Robles, Master Jones, we were talking about earlier, this is how they were able to generate an additional $40,000 their first month in. And now their school's bigger than ever, more students than ever, more loyal than ever, more committed than ever. And the money just keeps showing up. You know, people think small-minded and they think scarcity. It's like, well, if I do that, then I won't make any money next month. That's, again, we're thinking about it all wrong. Master Cup, yes, sir. Sifu?
So I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Yes.
So how do you stay consistent? 'Cause I noticed in my school, we could stay mostly consistent with students, but how do you stay consistent with every student that you treat, every lead, every trial, every enrollment, every upgrade? You pay the same amount of attention to every single person. You make every single person feel important.
Ooh, that's a great question. Now, are we talking about on or off the mat?
Both.
Okay.
Like how the whole process, like I understand the mass training, you know, I have a lot of training from you guys, and I get private training with some merchants.
Yep. Well, one of the things that we are firmly
especially
committed,
like keeping your staff on it.
yeah.
If I'm on it, I will do it with every single person, but keeping your staff consistent.
That's, well, like here at our schools, we have 4 locations here in Sacramento, and we do staff training twice a week. We spend, right now we're spending, it does shift throughout the year, but right now we're spending about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we're spending 4 hours a week on staff training.
Yeah. Do you have a section of staff training where you go over the student roster?
Oh yeah.
Checklist on each student?
Not necessarily like that. We used to many years ago. Now we look at, we track the, how many students have you enrolled? That's why, like on the daily report that we give everyone,
Yeah.
it has on there, how many invitations have you given out? Because we operate so quickly on the front end to eliminate all this work on the back end. I know that if last month I enrolled 15 new students, I know this month I have to give out 15 invitations. Make sense? So if they don't upgrade, they're going to quit. Now we revisit and revisit and revisit. However, it's easier to keep better accounting on the front end than to chase the back end. It's kind of like, what's that saying? It's easier to give birth than to resuscitate the dead. So let's go all in the beginning.
I don't know if I like that saying.
It's a good one. It's easier to give birth than to resuscitate the dead. Let's just go with someone new. So yeah, we are committed to treat everyone the same. And so we have a procedure, and that's why we have the workbooks, and we have procedures and tracking for everything. And that daily report is probably the single most effective tool that we use. It is literally keeping your finger on the pulse, the health of your business. Because if you don't know your numbers, if I go down the list on the left side of that deal, you should be able to fire off how many leads for the month, how many appointments set, everything's a percentage. And if I monitor my percentages, this is how I know what to train on this afternoon, for example. If the lead to appointments is not at least 25%, we're working on phone dialogue. If the appointment set to appointment show isn't 100% or 99%, I know we got to work on the phone dialogue. If the show to go percentage is not at least 50%, and for us, usually more like 70, 75, but if it's not at least 50%, I know we've got to work on the tour and intro. If the number of enrollments last month to upgrades this month isn't at least 50%, and again, for us, it's more like 75, 80, but if it's not at least 50%, I know we got to talk about class dialogue and upgrade procedures. So, I mean, that it really, there's percentages that need to be hit all the way through there. If we don't have at least 115 trials sold, 150% trials sold to appointment set, we got to go back and revisit the phone dialogue. We're missing a piece. Something's not right. Even if you're saying it, we're not saying it correctly. Let's practice that. So we're always, it's like when you go to the doctor's office, they, fill this out, answer these questions, show me where it hurts. Now we go in the next room. What are you going to do? Get on the scale, check your blood pressure, take your pulse. They're going to check your height, check your weight. They're going to look for the big things. Then you go to the doctor's office and it becomes more acute. Let's check this out. And now they can give you a path to wellness. That's what that daily report provides. And
I agree. Daily report's really important.
It's huge.
And I noticed today that it hadn't been updated. I have it right here. It hasn't been updated for a few days.
There you go.
There's a problem right there.
That is the top level indicator always, because if I'm not paying attention to my numbers, your business is screwed. I mean, if you guys ever watched the Shark Tank, it's been on for like 20 years now, right? If you ever watched the Shark Tank, if they come out there and they don't know their numbers, get out of here already. You're not running a business. You're not paying attention to your business. And the truth is, whatever we give our attention to grows. If I want to give my attention to getting people to go to this tournament 7 hours away, that's what grows. If I can give that same level of attention, enthusiasm to helping you commit to a bigger outcome, guess what grows? My academy. And because of that, the money grows too. Right? So
a tiny little detail. So leads that come in on Sunday, because we have quite a few leads on Sunday from advertising. Those go on Monday's report.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the truth is, it doesn't matter provided it's consistent. Like we don't do a daily report on Sunday because nobody's there. So those leads get included on Mondays. So they're tracked in terms of percentages.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to create a page for Sunday, you could do that too. As long as it's consistency is the key to our success. And this is where it goes back to treat everyone the same. Because if I'm consistent in my actions, now I can measure. And if I can measure, I can adjust appropriately. Like when we will, anytime there's something new to try, we test it on us first. We'll test it right here in town. I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid to try something new. You can always go back to what worked before. And we've done that dozens of times. There's things that we've tried that fell flat. We're like, okay, shift back. I'm not afraid to try new stuff. I'm not afraid to even lose students because there's a plethora of people that you can always enroll. If you're not enrolling people every month, you're screwed anyway. So why am I going to be held hostage? Right? I'm not going to hold on so tightly to what I've got that I can't go get what I want. I'm always going to go after what I want. That's the martial spirit. We got to lead by example. So I'll try it here. If it's working here, then we try it with our top level guys. The reason why we try it with the top level guys is the reason why they're top levels because they're so freaking consistent. There's never a missed daily report. The percentages are always on track. And because of that, they run $1 million academies. I mean, we make it so complicated when it's really not. And so the guys that are really consistent and everything, okay, let's test it there next. And then that gives us more of a general thing where it's not just Sacramento, it's it's Texas, it's Arkansas, it's Florida, it's New York, it's Colorado, it's Idaho, it's all over the country. So now with the people that are ultra consistent, we can test it there and get an accurate reading because they're so consistency is key. Now we can get an accurate reading. Okay, if it works there too, now we know we definitely have a home run, and that's when we'll deploy it to everybody we can talk to. Because I'm not going to tell you to try something until it's been properly vetted because I don't want it to come back on me. That didn't work. So let's make sure it works. Let's make sure it works everywhere. And now let's help everybody we can. But to circle back around again, to be more consistent on and off the mat, it just takes deciding what will and won't be accepted. For example, that daily report. We've got one of our guys who's awesome, Mr. Wong, but there was a time when he wasn't awesome and he was scattered and not always consistent. And finally, after hounding him and beating him up and thrashing him, and then finally I said, okay, you know what? We're just going to make a deal right now, sir. Here's the new deal. Ready? Hold on. Moving forward, if you ever leave the academy without sending me the daily report, you got to go back and do it. And I will call you come 10 o'clock at night. If I haven't got that daily report, I will call you and I expect you to answer. And if you don't have it to send to me, you better drive your butt back over there. It's that important. Do you understand? He doesn't miss him anymore. It's what we make it. It's the importance that we put on it. If we treat it lightly, it goes neglected. If I make it one of the most important things that we have to do, it becomes more important. I mean, we all have things that we will and won't accept. Just make it one of the things. And I'm not going to get mad, but I'm going to be persistent. It's got to be done, got to be done, got to be done, got to be done. Now, I know some guys are even more hardcore than that. They're like, hey, if I don't get it, you're fined $50. We'll just take it out of your paycheck. I don't know if I can get away with that in California. But because of that, they don't miss them either. So I'm not telling you need to do that. I don't even know if it's legal to do that. But it's got to be that important. Because if I, as the owner, I can't be in 4 locations at once. There's no way. But I can keep my finger on the pulse by reading that daily report every night. And I congratulate him for whatever went right. We talk about what needs work. It gives me a guideline of what I know we need to see, because our guys are really good. They've all been with me. I think Wong is the newest one out of all of them. And he's been with me like 7 or 8 years now. I mean, they've been with me for a long time. They know this stuff inside and out. And yet we still spend hours a week practicing because you've never got it. It's back to the green and growing or ripe and rotting. Either you're training or you suck. Yeah. And that's kind of the truth of it. I mean, imagine Mr. Thomas there has been doing jiu-jitsu forever. But if you stop training for 5 years, you're going to feel good about entering a competition?
Oh, no.
Hell no. and get, I would expect to get smashed. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
However, if we are training, not trained, but if we are training, our confidence soars. We are better.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes off the mat as it does. See, most karate guys, they spend all their focus and energy training on the mat. They put in tens of thousands of hours training on the mat. They put in 0 time training off the mat and wonder why business sucks. Well, there's the answer. And that's one of the things that we help people do. And this goes back to Master Jones again. The reason why people employ us to be a part of their operation is that we like training staff and we're good at it. We get people to think differently. You know what to do, but we're good at training people what to do. That's a whole different deal. And that's why, like Grandmaster Bill Clark, the reason why we work for him is because he likes doing the training on the mat. He can train people in business, but that's not what brings him joy. He wants to spend his time on the mat, so he pays us to train his people off the mat. And because of that, he's a multimillionaire. I know how to do all the marketing. However, I pay Roman to do the marketing for us. Why? Because he can focus on one component, I can focus on another component, and that way business grows. Simple. So simple. And I think it's so simple that it gets overlooked. So I think I answered your question, Sifu Cup.
Yeah, I'm actually writing down something on my calendar right now. Check daily reports every evening.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. And again, if one day gets missed as the end of the world, in the overall scheme of things, no. But what it tells me is that my guy is not paying attention to his business, and that's going to hurt all of us. So the response indicators, I think, matter even more than the tangible. I don't have the daily report in my hand. It isn't going to make or break us one day, but it's a response indicator that he's focused on something else today, and therefore business got missed. So let me act more quickly to get him refocused so that revenue doesn't suffer. Because if the revenue of the school suffers, well, yeah, that affects my money, but it also affects his money. And if I let his money get affected too much, he's going to quit.
Yeah.
And this is why we talk about how, as an owner, I have to make their money more important than my money so that I don't have to worry about my money. If I've got guys that are making 6-figure incomes working for me or with me, that's how I prefer to refer to it. If they're making a 6-figure income working with me / for me, they're not going to quit to go do something else. Now, the guy that's struggling, making, $10 an hour working for you, he's checking the classifieds. He's picking up side jobs, driving for Uber or something, driving for Amazon. Why? Because he needs to make more money, and we're not teaching them. We're not giving them the tools, the knowledge and know-how, the encouragement, the hand-holding to help him realize he's got the gold scepter right there. In today's day and age, there is no reason for a person to not make a significant income teaching martial arts. There's no reason for that to happen. What gets in the way? Us. Holding on to systems that don't work, holding on to ideologies that are outdated. I want to be more traditional. Great. Let's do less with more intensity and help these students actually get something out of this. I know we have Rich, Mr. Silver, on here. He's recently had an epiphany with things of, hey, I can do all the stuff I want to do, but let me do it on a timeline that they can participate in too. Would you agree with that, sir?
Had to unmute. Yes. I had to do a lot of soul searching. So I basically the things that I have been doing, the big, way overblown program that I was going to be doing over my 30 years of experience. And like, that's going to be the ultimate program. That's one it doesn't pay the big money for. The super dedicated students that want that full body life experience. Everybody else, I've developed the Evolution Family Mixed Martial Arts program. Every age is 30-minute program. Come in, work out, have a good time, sweat, have fun. That's for everybody, and then I just upgrade them up from there.
The bigger pool I can get at the entry level, the more people that will like the higher level. You know what? When I in my youth, the USTU was the dominant Olympic organization. The USTU was pretty impressive. I mean, the nationals was a week long just for the juniors, and then they had a separate 3 or 4 day event for the seniors, and people could go to Florida and you spend the week there and you would compete and go to Disney, you do all this stuff. It was huge. But then the guy that was in charge of it, he got in some trouble. And so then it became, they took it over, they took it away, they changed the name to USA Taekwondo. And then the people in charge decided, well, we're going to do a little different. Instead of having this big groundswell where everyone can come compete from white belt up, we want to focus more on the elite athletes. So now we're going to make it all about the black belts. And we just want the top athletes to come and compete. And guess what happened? They pretty much went bankrupt, because the key was nurturing the low-level people and getting more people to buy into the idea of becoming a top-level person, not let's look for the top-level people and we'll just be that. That was selfish. It was egotistical, and they almost met their demise. Now they've made some corrections over the years, and I think they're doing just fine. But I remember the transition. Whew, it was painful. It was touch and go. Like, I don't know if these guys are even going to make it. And they almost didn't. But it just, and that's how that's how I think the martial arts has to be. I want to get, because right now we have to work harder than ever to get people started. And the reason is because there's so much competition for people's time. My competition is not the other karate guy. My competition is soccer, baseball, basketball, video games, what else? Piano lessons, gymnastics. My competition is the fact that so many kids just want to sit on their phone. Say again?
Traffic,
yeah. I mean, a lot of people discount that. You ask your mommy to sign up her kid for the next 12 months, you're asking her to commit to driving to and from your academy 100 to 150 times in the next 12 months. Nobody even thinks about that. I do. So our competition is all the things that get in the way. And parents nowadays, it used to be 20, 30 years ago, parents picked a thing. They might try several things and they kind of choose the thing. And if you were it, you're golden. But now parents want their kids to do everything. Which is why at the entry level membership, we're very direct. We say, hey, this program is built around your child being able to come 1 to 2 days a week. Now, do I want students only 1 day a week? Of course not. However, I know my overall objective at the front end is to just get more people started so I can get them addicted to it, so I can get them to set their sights on a high level membership where now all the other stuff matters a whole lot less. So I can't say, hey, come in, put you on this super whammy membership. I got to get you started and ease you into it. I use dating a lot as an analogy. It's like you see a cute girl, you walk up to her and say, hey, I want to marry you and have babies. She's going to run for the hills. However, if you simply ask her for her number, maybe meet up for some coffee, she might be into it. And who knows where it goes from there. So we got to be a little more relaxed on the front end to get what we want on the back end. I hope that makes sense to everybody. It doesn't mean I'm watering down my martial arts. It means I'm going to slow down how I get people started. If I go back, I remember my instructor telling me stories about him and one of his buddies, a guy named Jack Pierce, back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And they'd go out to the bars and nightclubs, and they were friends with all the bouncers. And I remember as a kid, my older folks who were like 18, older family members, they'd go out on Friday night and they'd get into fights, and they loved it. And it was like the thing to do. And maybe they were kind of rednecks, but that's okay. But anyway, to get into a fist fight was not that uncommon. And so what they would do is they'd go out to all the bars and clubs and they'd go into the men's bathrooms, and on the urinals and on the sink, they would leave business cards everywhere. And every Monday they'd have somebody show up with a black eye going, I need to learn how to fight. I need to learn self-defense. And they had a thriving school based on that. That would not work today. Right? Times have changed and we have to evolve and change with them, or you go the way of the dinosaur. We have to realize what we're competing against, and it's not the other guy that can punch you in the face. It's what we just listed a while ago. It's all the things parents want their kids to do. And especially now when parents, well, I don't want to make my kid do something he doesn't want to do. How do we deal with that? We have to make it more important. We have to get better at going from here to here to here. We have to get better at having the right conversations to help a parent think differently about what she wants her child to become. We get good at that. That's worth a lot of money. That's worth a lot of money. All right. So we're just about out of time. We'll do a quick round robin, but again, in the comments section, we have the onboarding link where you can book a one-on-one. We also have the link for the Warrior Seminar with Mass Training coming up in Jacksonville, Florida next month, November 14, 15, and 16. It's going to be fantastic. And I think if you come to Jacksonville, you will be blown away. You'll see something you have never seen before. Guaranteed. All right. So with that, let's do a quick round robin. Let's start with Sifu Cup. What are we taking away from this call today, sir? Number one takeaway.
Daily report.
It's
got to be accurate. It has to be filled out every day.
And it doesn't take long. I mean, especially once you get the rhythm of doing it, it takes all of 2-3 minutes max. How about you, sir, Mr. Thomas?
I always thought it had to be flashy to get people to join. And now I'm going to try to just teach martial arts like Clay Pittman style.
Yeah, it's connection. One of the things he does is they go rent a booth at the mall and they'll book 100 appointments just by shaking hands and kissing babies. No demonstration. They talk about what you get to become through their martial art training. That's big. If I go back 20, 30 years ago, we used to do demonstrations where we broke boards and did weapons and breaking bricks, and we put on a big show. But you realize, guys, no matter how good of a show you put on, they see something better on their phone on YouTube, because you're going to see the best people in the world do it on YouTube, and you can't compete. Sorry. So rather than doing something to try to impress you, now, the last time I did a demo, we had students show up and we had them kicking and punching on command by count. And we sold all kinds of trials because parents saw that and they're like, ooh, my kid could do that. Look at the discipline, look at the structure, the confidence they exude. That's what sells. We've talked about before, every parent needs for their child one of two things. They either need more focus or they need more confidence. And that applies to every child on the planet. Why? Because every parent's kid is either shy or crazy. And the shy ones need more confidence and the crazies need more focus. So let's sell that. All right. Thank you for your answer there. Rich, single biggest takeaway.
I'm going to say the daily report because I admittedly have not been doing them, even though I recognized immediately when I first saw it how important that is, because I've ran businesses. And I'm like, why am I doing that? So you just reminded me again, get back on doing your daily reports.
Yeah.
I can make the excuses on the why I haven't, but it really doesn't matter. Even if it's blank every day, it needs to have something, because that tells me, even nothing tells me something.
Yes. Zeros. Sometimes here's the two things. Sometimes I hear people go, well, I don't need to do it because it's just me. I know. It's not about the knowing. It's about the discipline of doing it. And then sometimes people don't do it because they don't like to put those zeros. I'll see all those zeros. Makes me feel bad. Well, let's toughen up. You're a black belt. Let's be a little bit, let's have a little bit thicker skin, because by filling it out, you're instilling the discipline that will lead you to success And at some point, you probably will have helpers or staff members. And if you're not setting the example for them to follow, they won't. So yeah, I agree with you. That's great. All right. Well, does anybody else want to chime in before we sign off here? I see we got Master Jones. We've got Thomas's iPhone. Master Jones. Single
Yeah,
biggest takeaway.
it's not what they do. It's not what we do. It's how we think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big one. I've been going through that the last couple of weeks anyways, and I've always known that, but sometimes you hear it and you know it a little bit more, and then
Yes.
you think it and you hear it, you know it a little bit more. Today I know it a little bit more.
Love it. And you know what? You've got a group, from what I've met, you got a great crew.
Oh yeah, they are really good.
They just have to be, you know, we just got, it's like using a magnifying glass to burn something, right? We just got to take this thing and just focus it in and get everyone focused on going one direction, right? And once the team gets focused on what it is they really want to achieve, things happen fast. It's fun. Our business should be easy, lucrative, and fun. Simple as that. You know, it should be easy. Look, we convolute it too much. You know, we make things too difficult for us. Just gotta simplify things. So, all right. On that note, we're gonna sign off. I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next call. Have a great day.